Thank you for joining me again. We're going to be finishing off the simple Chinese face mapping, face reading chart. So, as previously mentioned, there are roughly 3 to 4 or 3 to 5 categories per each facial feature. They all reflect something in Chinese reading. Once again, your face right now is just speaking Mandarin to me, and I am just a humble Rosetta Stone translating it back to you. You need not thank me. So, we're going to examine the windows of your soul, which are your eyes. Keep in mind, this is a Chinese face reading chart. So, with that in mind, we're going to have to adapt it just a little bit. So, in your case, I'm going to just examine where your eyes are set and how they're angled and how big they are. So, your eyes are kind of medium set. I wouldn't really... If I had to choose whether they were closer to each other or further away, I couldn't quite say. They're about like medium. But I guess if anything, I would have to say that they're closer together, just because you don't have that sort of like Little Mermaid fish look, that Kate Moss sort of like distant alien look. However, as for the slant in your eyes, they're downturned. So this Chinese face reading chart is kind of like the opposite to you. And then, as for how big your eyes are, they're a bit on the bigger side. So, with that in mind, we're going to examine the chart now. So, if your eyes are closely set, which your eyes are a bit closer than they are further apart, then that indicates someone who is avaricious, selfish, suspicious, anxious, and tense. So, if someone's eyes are very close together, then it's kind of like, oh no wait, prey eyes. Yeah, prey eyes look straight forward. Hunter eyes are on the sides, no? Which ones are on the sides and then which ones look straight forward? I think prey eyes are on the sides because they have to look constantly around themselves. So that's why prey animals have eyes that are set on these sides of their face, like fish. And then hunter eyes, predator eyes, are closer together. They're more direct because they're just kind of honing in on whatever it is that they're hunting. So if your eyes are closer set together, you're an apex predator. That is selfish, suspicious, anxious, and tense at all times. Meanwhile, if your eyes are further apart, so widely set, that means you are someone who is generous, kind, altruistic, and happy. So, very, very lovely characteristics if your eyes are further apart. In fact, give me one moment. I'm going to use my tube of lipstick again to just kind of like do a little bit of a impromptu measurement. Just going to draw a line down there and then down there and see where exactly your eyes fall, if they're slightly further away than they are together or vice versa. Yeah, your eyes are closer together than they are further away from one another. Now, if your eyes are slanting in that way, so, sort of taking the elevator upwards, that means you are perceptive, quick, and shrewd. So the inverse must be true then, where if your eyes are downturned, then you're probably a little bit on the absent-minded side, slow to reaction, and perhaps a bit more air-headed. Now, if you have big eyes, that means that you are gentle, naive, and romantic. So in your case, those are some positive qualities that we can ascribe to you, as opposed to absent-minded and shrewd. And if you have small eyes, then you are evasive, elusive, and secretive. So if you have small eyes, you are someone who is hiding something, probably your pupils. So we then move on to the next category, which are your ears. For this, I'm going to ask you to look to my right, please. Completely shift your face over. Okay, interesting. Okay. And then would you mind looking to my left, please? Okay. Your ears are the same on both sides. Sometimes some people have different shaped ears or differently shaped ears. Look straight forward at me. Thank you. So your ears are pointed. So these are the three categories of ears that we can examine. Rounded ears indicate someone who is artistic, creative, aesthetic, elegant, and tasteful. Your ears are once again pointed. And typically I think with rounded ears, they're attached by the earlobe to the head, which is very rare. Then we have long ears. This is someone who has probably not necessarily a longer face, but it kind of gives off that vibe. So this is someone who is resolute, positive, honest, and rigid. They're confident. They are go-getters who are decisive. And then if you have pointed ears, as you do on both sides, you are astute, shrewd, intuitive, wary, and perceptive. So that's what reflects your characteristics from your ears. Your ears are just screaming Mandarin to me, and they scream intuition and perception. Next, we have your nose profile. We have 4 categories of nose to examine. So I'm going to look at the bridge of your nose. Would you mind turning to your right again, please? Okay. The bridge of your nose is not flat, because flat is like against your face where you don't even have a bridge, but it's basically not humped. So okay, and the tip of your nose is rounded. So from that we can now look at this chart. I would say you have more of the straight and long nose. The strong, even nose has a little bit of a hump right here, starting kind of like a Roman nose. That means someone who is influential, practical, strong, dynamic, and happy, if they have that sort of Roman nose. Your nose, which is more straight and long, is creative, honest, refined, and practical. So very positive traits to have. Now we have the hooked nose. This is more so the, I guess, Steve Carell nose, maybe. This hooked nose, or the witch's nose, the goblin's nose, the vampire's nose, I already said the goblin's nose, no? So, this nose is ambitious, shrewd, perceptive, and astute. So someone who doesn't play games when it comes to perhaps power, hence their ambition, or gain. Next we have the upward bending nose. So this is kind of like the snub nose or the button nose. This nose is easygoing, simple, happy, content, and gregarious. So very gentle, very sweet. What a nice, kind nose. Your nose, once again, is the straight and long nose. So you are creative, honest, refined, and practical. You're also astute, shrewd, intuitive, wary, and perceptive because of your ears. And you're also someone who is gentle, naive, and romantic, but also a bit absent-minded. Now we're going to examine your mouth. So Your mouth is going to be examined based off of the curve of your mouth, the width of your mouth, and the size of your lips. So look straight at me. I'm going to try to like measure your pupils according to the corners of your lips. If the corners of your lips are wider than where your pupils fall, then your mouth is on the wide side. If it falls evenly, then it's sort of medium, and if it falls short of it, then you have kind of like a plum cherry mouth. And then I'm also going to be analyzing how your lips naturally curve. So just keep your lips still, relaxed. Okay. Okay. And then just examine. Okay. So yours are even and arched lips. So if we were to go back to the chart, the fish mouth is someone who has a very small petite mouth. This is very popular in South Korea and Japan to have that sort of plum cherry lips. This is someone who is isolated, suspicious, and deficient in some way. Next we have the moon mouth. The moon mouth is one that's naturally curved upwards, or the corners are naturally curved upwards. This moon mouth indicates happiness, luck, fortune, and wealth, hence why they're smiling. The next one is the square mouth. So this is someone with a flat line across their mouth, even lip sizes to each other, kind of neutral looking. So this person is someone who has strong personality, good fortune, strength, and creativity. And then as for the even and arched lips, which is what you have, you have or possess intellectual success, emotional stability, and you are someone who is quite refined. So you have very classy lips. Next, we're going to examine your forehead, more specifically your hairline. So I'm just gonna put my hands through your hair real quick and see what exactly we can find here. Okay, interesting. See if we can find like a widow's peak or that sort of like vampiric kind of like indent. Okay. So you have an average balanced hairline. Congratulations. So if, for example, you had a very broad or high forehead, and this can apply to women too, or men who are kind of balding, that means you are someone who is intellectual, happy, powerful, creative, you have a strong personality, and you're kind. If you have a high but narrow forehead, so not broad, but narrow, where it kind of peaks here, then you're someone who is cerebral, creative, prudent, frugal, and realistic. So your forehead is kind of there just because your top third was the longest or widest on your face, but I wouldn't really define you as being broad or high and narrow. Your forehead is still maintaining a level of balance that isn't too noticeable. Hence why yours is the averaged and balanced forehead. With the average balanced forehead shape, you are sensible, practical, gregarious, witty, humane, and clever. So, all positive traits yet again. Now, if you had a widow's peak that kind of bent inward like that, kind of like Dracula, the first Dracula, then you would be realistic, clever, robust, athletic, and manual. So, someone who's practical. And lastly, if you have kind of one of those jade, I forgot her name. It was the daughter of Aunt Becky who got into that trouble with the whole college application fiasco thing. She has a very low forehead. It's like right here. So if you have a forehead like that, I think it's Jade West, but if you have a forehead like that, then you have, or possess, I think Kendall Jenner also has a low forehead, then you will possess willpower, physical willpower. You are strong when it comes to your physical prowess. You tend to be selfish, stubborn, and simple. So, a go-getter, basically. And then we move on to eyebrows. So, apologies for my stomach. It sounds like a thunderous storm. Your eyebrows, it really just depends on their shape and their maintenance. Okay, so these are going to be simple. Your eyebrows are evenly bushy and curved. Now, if they were even and arched, as in thin and arched, they would be intellectual, stable, successful, refined, and emotional. Emphasis on the refinement when it comes to thin eyebrows. Now, if they're even and evenly bushy and curved, as in they're properly maintained but they're thick, or they're just like very like apparent, then you have a strong personality, you're a very capable person, you're well balanced, you're happy, and you're successful in life. And lastly, if you have low, bushy, wild brows that are just not maintained, then you are someone who is avaricious, dreary, unsteady, spiteful, and introverted. So basically the key lesson there is maintain your brows. So that way they reflect something positive. Now we're going to examine your lips to see rather which lip projects forward. Which one is the one that's kind of like moving forward, your bottom lip or your top lip? So if you wouldn't mind looking to your right again for me. Thank you. I'm just going to look at your lips and see which ones protrude a little further. Okay, your top lip seems to be protruding a bit further than your bottom lip. So, if your upper lip protrudes further than your bottom lip, you are someone who is vulnerable, shy, insecure, and demure. Now, if your bottom lip was the one that was shooting forward a bit more, then you would be egotistical, careless, and unkind. So if your bottom lip protrudes more, egotistical, unkind, and reckless. If your top lip protrudes more, shy, demure, and vulnerable. Now, as for your chin, this is the last category, but it also has 6 subcategories to it, so it's the largest one. Would you mind looking to your right again for me? I just want to examine your jaw shape, your chin and how it protrudes, and the shape of it. Okay. Perfect. Excellent. Okay. So, according to your jaw, you have a round to front jaw. So it protrudes forwards, but it's on the round side. So, if you were square to front, then that would mean that you're someone who is energetic, reliable, confident, and defiant. This is kind of like that crimson chin. Your case is the round to front, so it protrudes forward, but it's softer. Not necessarily so like Hulk Hogan, but sort of softer. That means you're someone who is benevolent, competent, modest, and delicate. Someone who is in control of your environment, but in a way that is sort of balanced. Then we have the round or pointed to front. The pointed to front is the type of chin where it's kind of like, it doesn't really have a mass to it, it's just kind of like it points. Kind of like the Japanese beauty standard where they want the chin to narrow down to a point, but that point protrudes forwards. So that indicates someone who is imaginative, skillful, talented, and trusting. Next we have the square to back. This is where if your chin is kind of lined up with your nose, it doesn't protrude forward. It's kind of like a direct line from the tip of your nose downwards. This is someone, and if it's square, so if it kind of ends in a square at the bottom of it, this is someone who is optimistic, practical, expansive, and tolerant. The round back is someone whose chin doesn't pass the tip of their nose, but it's round here as opposed to just flat. So that is someone who is inflated, sociable, intuitive, and or furtive and anxious. So someone who's a little bit on the unpredictable side. And then the pointed back is same concept, doesn't pass the tip of your nose but is pointed. Someone who is pessimistic, careless, fearful, rash, and timid. So now that we've covered all of these little categories of facial characteristics, I hope that that enlightened you as to what you convey in Mandarin, simply speaking, because it is a simple chart, and you take from it what you wish. So with that in mind, I hope you take care, and